Well, hello. I'm so glad you're here with me today, Casey. Thank you for being willing to share your experience with time management coaching. And to start out, could you just share a little bit about who you are and kind of what you do in the world?
Yeah, so I'm Casey, and I am a attorney in Richmond, Virginia. Own a small personal injury and general plaintiffs litigation practice, and I have two small kids, 6 and 5 now, and generally just very busy. So.
Yes, absolutely. A lot going on for sure. And when you came to me, in terms of being interested in time management coaching, what were a few of the things that were going on that made you think I should seek out some help with this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I was facing was as starting my own firm, it was balancing not only casework, but a lot of the admin and back end kind of responsibilities involved that I had not had to do prior in my career, but also how that affected kind of my work life balance. And obviously, most attorneys and certainly business owners have some wild hours. I was hoping to find better ways to manage the time I had to make sure I was using it efficiently and able to, again, balance all of those parts of my professional and personal life.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Because you wanted to be successful in your new firm that you were starting, and also feel like you could show up for your kids and your wife
That's
could
right.
count on you. That
Yeah,
kind of thing.
for sure.
Absolutely, which is a great result. At the end of it all, you want to have a great firm and a great family.
That's right.
So that is awesome. And there were a lot of different things we covered during our time of working together. So I'll kind of ask you questions about a few different areas that we worked on. So I know one of the things that you really were craving was having dedicated time to work on like case strategy and also writing work instead of feeling like you were just reacting to everything happening around you. So could you share a little bit about what you learned there that was effective for you, as well as reducing stress around like filing deadlines or trials or that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I think it's obvious now, but it wasn't then. When I would look at my week or month or year, I was focusing on things that were scheduled, deadlines, filings that needed to happen, just certain deadlines, instead of also focusing on setting kind of deadlines for myself for things that needed to get done in prior to those deadlines. So when I would look at a week, I'd see these different things that were happening and just note, okay, well, by Wednesday, I need to have that done. But I didn't put a lot of thought, as much thought as I should, into, okay, well, on Monday, then what does that mean I need to do? How long do I need to set it for? What communication do I need to have with my staff, family about that Wednesday deadline, how it's going to affect the Monday, Tuesday, or even Sunday. So after working with you, I got a lot better at doing that, which helped me utilize my time much more efficiently and be better and more effective at communicating that with not only staff, but also my wife and family to make sure that those things were all organized and laid out well in advance.
Yeah, no, I was super proud of you because I know at the beginning it was like, oh my goodness, there's a deadline. That means automatically I have to work a really late night.
Right.
To it became, oh, there's a deadline, but I allocated time for, so I'm good. Like we filed, I can go home.
Right.
So that's a nice feeling. And speaking of delegation, I know something else we talked a lot about was delegating more, but then also checks and balances, because it's one thing to give someone something, it's another thing to know that they actually did get it done. So would you be able to share just a little bit about some of the learning you had in that area?
Yeah, it's always hard. I think it's especially for attorneys, but definitely for ones that own their own business to delegate anything. We tend to be a little bit type A. But one of the most important things that I got out of working with you was um, looking more deeply at my schedule. It was impossible to get everything done on my own. And so just bringing myself to delegate more things that were able to be delegated was extremely important. And then on the follow-up piece, it's just developing and communicating processes to my staff and assistants in order to make sure that those things were getting done at the right time. And one of the big things is when you had talked me through delegating and then setting, the deadline there and then. I wasn't always good at communicating that, but that has helped tremendously in making sure that things get done and that the expectations are set well in advance for those.
Good. No, that's awesome. Because if you delegate and then it doesn't get done, it makes everything worse.
Yes,
Versus if you delegate and people actually support you, you're like, oh, that was helpful.
right.
Great. And so there's a couple other areas I want to make sure we touch base on. One is, you not only want to have a great firm, but you want to be a great husband, a great dad. How do you feel planning helped you to be able to communicate better with your wife and for her to know she could count on you? Like if she wanted to go out with her girlfriends and needed you to watch the kids or that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I think anyone with small kids will attest that it's harder and harder to find time to discuss those types of things with your spouse. There's just not as much time in the day as there used to be. And what, again, going into this, it was more professionally kind of aimed, but one of the big upshots was in my personal life as well. My wife and I got a lot better at planning, as silly as it sounds, sometimes those things well in advance. And what that did was create the space and time in order to plan and talk and communicate more effectively about those expectations. So not only just better at planning it generally, but planning the uh, or planning to make time to have those discussions was one of the biggest positives that came as a result of your uh, you and I's discussions over it. So
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. That's great. And it's it's one of those things where sometimes you're gonna need to work late. Like sometimes that just is what it is, but it's nice when your spouse knows.
right,
Versus like they totally thought you were coming over for dinner, this or that was happening, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, honey, no.
right,
And they're
that's
like,
right.
oh, so
Well, and the
yeah.
other big thing that again seemed obvious and wasn't until you really hit it nail on the head was I think the ability to just work whenever you want without setting kind of some guardrails just allows for a little more laziness than maybe should. So setting hard stop times and different things actually had me get the same amount of work done in that amount of time than it would have if I had just given myself the entire day or up until 10 o'clock at the evening. So that was a big part of it too.
That's awesome. And that brings me to my last point, which is we're not just looking for work-life balance, but also feeling successful and being successful. And
That's
so
right.
through these different strategies, it wasn't like all of a sudden you weren't reaching settlements for your clients or things weren't working out. You were able to get the work done, but you're also able to have a life. So
Yes.
that's awesome. Super
Yeah.
happy for you. And in terms of final question, if someone's considering working with me, what would you say to them?
No brainer. I think is something that is an art form. It is a kind of an academic subject all into itself that they don't teach you in law school or really anywhere. And a lot of the things that, again, became obvious to me as I worked with you or not before. And if I had not done it, I would not be as organized and I think successful as I am now afterwards. And so I think it's really a no-brainer because everyone can improve time management, and it's always a work in progress. So
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Casey. I really enjoyed working with you and appreciate your testimonial.
absolutely, thank you, Elizabeth.